Breaking news right now out of Sana'a, Yemen, 4 o'clock in the morning there, still 8 p.m. here in Washington. The U.S. and U.K. are launching a new round of strikes on the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels there. This is brand new video just into NewsNation. Defense officials tell us the strikes successfully targeted more than a dozen sites in the western part of the country, just hours after the Houthis targeted a U.S.-owned ship. Of course, earlier today, the Biden administration designated the Houthis as a specially designated global terrorist group. Morgan Ortagus here, former State Department spokesperson. Yes, but not a foreign terrorist organization. Why these incremental steps, you think?
I think it's a political decision, to be honest, and I say that from two different perspectives. First, and I used to, many years ago, build designation packages when I was an analyst at the Treasury Department, so I know what these are like. They're very time-intensive. And at the State Department, it took us about a year, Leland, to build this designation package to name the Houthis as an FTO. Within weeks of the Biden administration taking over, they rescinded that designation. The reason why they did so is because very lefty foreign aid groups had been incredibly critical, and probably some of this is warranted, by the way, for the Saudi fight in Yemen. They were obviously at war with the Houthis, and there was a lot of civilians getting killed. So many of the aid organizations opposed it whenever we in the Trump administration put that foreign terrorist organization FTO label on the Houthis. And so that was one of the reasons, sort of throwing a bone to your base, that Secretary Blinken and Biden rescinded that designation. Unfortunately, when you rescind something for political reasons, Leland, and you don't actually get something out of a negotiation, well, then the other party can continue to act as they were before the designation, and that is exactly what the Houthis did. The Houthis literally began attacking within days of Blinken removing that FTO designation. So now you have 3 years. By the way, it wasn't just the removal of the designation. In February of 21, President Biden made a speech where he demanded essentially that Saudis stop attacking or stop, defending themselves against the Houthis, stop the war in Yemen, said that no more U.S. military hardware would be sent, no more U.S. assistance, because he wanted to end that war. And while Biden wanted to end that war, Iran did not. So for the past 3 years, you have had Iran aiding, funding, abetting, training, and equipping the Houthis, which are a terrorist organization, whether you want to call them that or not, that's what they are. So they've had 3 years to continue to attack and to continue to build up their capabilities. And now you see, Leland, the nightmare scenario, the one that we all dreaded, the one that we all feared after 9/11. That nightmare scenario is that a terrorist organization would have things in their hands like ballistic missiles, like sophisticated drones, where they could attack U.S. ships, U.S. sailors, and U.S. service members. That is exactly what a terrorist organization has 20 years after 9/11. And today, by calling them, not by calling them an FTO, but by going one level down and calling them a specially designated global terrorist group, it effectively takes the teeth out of the sanction. So the Biden administration did this because they did not want to piss off these same groups. Sure.
Yeah, no, and that's where I was getting. No, look, you're the right person for this, because you have the you have the timeline from being the people who originally named them a foreign terrorist organization now to today. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for that comprehensive an answer to my final question because we're going to run out of time in the show. Yeah. But I got 30 seconds. There were protesters outside of the White House, lots of them trying to break into the White House over the weekend, shouting, "Yemen, Yemen, make us proud." How is it that we have gotten to a place in America where there are thousands of people showing up, chanting in support of what you rightly call, and what by any fair assessment is, a terrorist organization?
I have no idea how. Well, I don't want to say I have no idea how we got there. We got there because these are the same groups. Listen, there was a lot of groups that were blaming the United States after 9/11. It is a far leftist ideology that thinks that it's America's fault every time something bad happens in the world. I think bad things happen in the world when America doesn't lead and when America isn't out front and whenever America is passive. And that's why we did things like in the Trump administration, like we actually gave the Ukrainians, weapons before Russia invaded. Go figure, something the Biden team didn't do. So it's just a leftist ideology about America's place in the world, and I just don't agree with it.
Morgan, we got to run. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. The strikes, we don't know if they will continue throughout the night. We'll keep an eye on it. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.